Greetings, and welcome to Odoo Essentials, or formerly known as OpenERP. We're going to begin right away. You'll notice in my address bar I put localhost :8069, which would be typically the default URL you would have if you've installed locally Odoo on your own server. Obviously, if you've installed Odoo somewhere else, or you were using Odoo in the cloud, you're going to have a different IP address. But we're going to go ahead and get started by clicking Manage Databases and creating our database that will hold our company. After clicking Manage Databases, it brings up our Create a New Database form here, and you'll notice that there's a master password, and by default, on everyone's default installation of Odoo, that's going to be admin. But we're going to encourage that should be changed when you actually do an installation of Odoo. So we will cover that in a different video, but for administrators and for people doing installations. But make sure you have your master password correct, and then we're going to select a database name. And for this company, we're basically going to create a company that sells products on the internet, and a variety of different products. And so we're going to call this odds and ends, and we're going to choose a password. And obviously, you'll want to choose a password you can remember, and then you'll click Create Database to create our database here in Odoo. Typically, it should not take longer than 30 seconds to a minute to create a new database. It'll depend upon your actual server itself. Once our database has been successfully created, we'll be brought up with the list of installed modules that come by default with whenever you create a database in Odoo. And you'll notice up here the installed filter is applied, which is what is limiting the list of modules we see right now to only the modules we have installed. Well, as odds and ends is going to obviously sell some products, let's go ahead and install the sales management application. So I'm going to go over here and clear this installed filter, and you'll notice now that Odoo has changed to show all of the modules, including the ones that have not yet been installed. And you can take a little bit of time to look through here and see that you have, your CRM module, social networking, e-invoices and payments. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit, and we're going to just install the sales management module. So I'm going to click Install, and that module or application will be installed into this Odoo database. As the sales management application installs, it'll bring up a configure accounting data form, and here you can select an accounting package, and they have a custom as the top, and then here in the list you'll notice that the accounting options are essentially broken down by country. And so depending on the country that you happen to be in, you may wish to select that chart of accounts, and since this is a United States company, we're going to choose the United States chart of accounts. And you'll notice that the company here in the selection is just your only choice is your company, and later we'll of course change the name of that company to match the company that we're installing. So now we click continue, and the sales management module will complete the installation. After it gets to this point, we have a chart template that we can choose from, and depending upon the type of business that you have, some of these templates may or may not be useful. You can always customize your accounts later, so this is not going to lock you in anything, but we'll just choose the general product-based business chart template, and the currency you'll see is defaulted to US dollar, And fortunately, we don't have to pay quite that much sales tax. And you can set that to whatever that is for your local region. And then now we can hit apply. And at this point, the sales management can configure the general ledger that it's going to need. And we'll see the default screen come up after the sales application is installed. So now you'll notice here at the top of our form we've got our your OpenERP is not supported. You can just click and close on that if that's annoying you. Obviously, if you're running a enterprise Odoo installation, you're going to want enterprise support, so always consider that option. However, I just close that for now, and let's jump over here and handle our company name. We don't want it being named your company, so we click on the settings menu here, and then we'll go down here, and under companies, we're going to click companies, and you'll notice that our company name says your company. Let's change that to odds and ends. So we click on the record, and you'll notice it says your company. If we click here to start changing things, you'll notice the little edit button up here actually jumps and pops up. That's a little indication to kind of tell your users, look, you need to be clicking that edit button if you're going to be changing data on this screen. So I'm going to click the edit button so we can change the name of our company and put in just a little bit of information here to get us started. So I click edit. And then now you'll notice that this field is purple. Any field that is colored purple like this means that it's a required field. And we're just going to change this to say odds and ends. And we're going to go ahead and just put in some fictitious address here. And we won't pick a fictitious city, but you'll notice that as soon as I tab over to state, it's going to prompt from the list, since it knows that we are using US currency. The new Odoo 8 is smart enough to assume that we're going to want US states in our list. So as I start typing, here's a little thing that we can start to learn. As I type an I and an L, you'll notice that it's limited the selection to Illinois, and if I hit enter now, it's going to populate both the United States and the Illinois for our state, and we can then go ahead and type in a zip code. I don't know that that is the correct zip code in Chicago. We'll go ahead and give a tagline, and you'll notice that when I mouse over company tagline, it gives us a little bit of a hint there that tells us that what we put in this tagline will appear in the top right corner of our documents in the report header. Of course, you can customize that, but that's what by default will happen. So let's change our company tagline. We got your stuff. And for our website, we'll just leave this yourcompany.com. I don't want to change it and just redirect it and spam somebody's website, since this is a fictitious company. We're going to put in just some phone number, a fake phone number here, so we'll have a little more information. And we're going to leave the email like this too, because setting up an email server and hooking into the email system, that'll be covered in an administration video. So now I'm going to hit save. Now that we got our basic company set up, let's go ahead and start adding some products into our system for this odds and ends to sell. So up here under sales, we can click, and you'll notice now our options on the left here to show the available options under sales, and you'll see products listed. So let's go ahead and click on products, and you'll notice that by default that we have a service product that comes with the default Odoo installation. We're going to leave that there for now, and we're going to create our own product. So we go up here to the red button and click create to create our first product. Like before, you'll see the required field is in purple here. So let's go ahead and we're going to sell some dice. And you'll notice here there's a little picture with an arrow through it here, and it'll say that you can upload a picture here and it will automatically be resized to a 128 by 28 image. And the aspect ratio will be preserved only when the image exceeds one of these sizes. So we're going to go ahead and click, and I have a 6-sided dice picture here just for us to use for this purpose. And you'll see the picture now is there with our product. And by default, the can be sold is checked, which is what we want. And we have a sales price here available as well. So let's go ahead and change the sale price on this to $2.50. And for now, we can describe the product and there's other options, but for now that's enough for us to go ahead and click save and save this product. Let's now with that product saved and added, let's take notice of a few things. You'll notice that we have arrows up here on the right that let us navigate between our two products. So if I click this, I'll go back to the service product that was in Odoo by default, and if I click the right arrow again, I'm back on our product, our dice product that we added. Also, you'll notice here a little bit more to the right, 3 icons. Right now we're in the form view, but we can click list view, and now we'll see the list of products. And if we click the Kanban view, now we'll actually see like a picture list, or more like, they call it a Kanban view, but it's essentially an icon view in this case of the products, and a little bit of information about that product. So if I click dice here, naturally I'll bring up this record, and we can click create to go ahead and add a couple more products here into our system to work with. So I'll click create, and this time we're going to add some cards. I'll click here to add our picture for cards, and for our cards we're going to charge $4.50 for them. We're charging a lot for our cards. Save, and now let's go ahead and create one more for sunglasses. And I'll go once again and pick the sunglasses, and we'll sell these for $10. Now, one of the things that we're going to notice right away is the product type that I've picked here is consumable. Now, what that means is that it's not going to be keeping track of any stock. It's just essentially we're selling these products and they're just consumed. There's no inventory essentially behind them, and we'll take a look at that a little bit later. So now that we've added these products in, let's go ahead and let's sell some. Let's say we have a customer who wishes to buy some of our fine odds and ends. So let's go ahead here to our sales orders, and we'll use this as an opportunity to add a customer on the fly. So you can see how to do adding a record on the fly here in Odoo. So I'm going to click create to create our first sales order. And you'll notice here when I click on customers, we don't have any new customers. I could click create and edit, but let's just say that this customer walked in and was kind enough to give us his name as Bob Smith. And I can, here on the fly, create Bob Smith and add them. And you'll notice it says here, if you change the price list of this order and eventually the currency, prices of existing order lines will not be updated. This is just a price list warning that we'll get until we assign a price list. So now let's go ahead and click add an item, and under product, if I click the pop-up here, you'll notice that we have our 3 products available, and we can just, by selecting them, it will automatically fill in a 1 quantity and our unit price. Let's go ahead and say that Bob here wants to buy 5 dice, and now let's pick this other one a little bit different just so you can see how this works. If I type in S for sunglasses and start typing it out, if I tab off, it'll know, since that's the only one, it'll be the one that populates it. I can also tab across and change the quantity the same way. So if you want to, and then you can hit enter, it'll add the next line item. So you can stay on the keys for the most part. So if I typed in cards, I can tab across, hit 5 again, and if I hit enter, once again, I'm on the line to add another item. So that's a little trick you can use to keep your hands on the keyboard. But let's go ahead and delete this card so that we're not buying all of our products here. And let's go ahead and save this. What you'll notice up here is a draft quotation. So I'm going to click Save here. And this is going to bring you to one of the things that confuses some people the first time they use Odoo. If I click Sales Orders, you'll notice that there's no records listed here, and that can be kind of confusing because watch what I do. I go up here to click Sales Order. We're going to say that somebody else has come in, Kathy Wright, and that she wants to buy, it didn't get that Kathy Wright, so we're going to make sure that we create her, and it's warning us about that price list, so we're going to take care of that here moving forward. So we click Add an Item. We're just going to pick Dice and hit Save again. And now let's go back and click Sales Orders, and you'll notice again that it looks like we've lost our data. In fact, what we really did was we didn't really create a sales order. What we did was we created a quotation and never converted it over to a sales order. So if I click Quotations here, you'll notice there are two quotations, one for Bob Smith and one here for Kathy Wright. I intentionally did this to illustrate to you that it can be a little bit confusing to new users by creating a new record here under sales order to then have it disappear and show up under quotations. But let's quickly show how we can turn this quotation into a sales order. At this point, we could send it by an email or we could print it out. Let's just go ahead and say confirm this sale. And now you'll see that we have a sales order instead of a quote, and that instead of this saying draft quotation, as being the highlighted item, our sales to invoice is now the highlighted stage of this document. And if we go over to sales orders, we'll see we have one sales order here that's ready to be invoiced. And if we look at our quotations, we'll see the one quotation that we created there, waiting for either to be canceled or confirmed as a sales order. One thing we're going to want to cover right away is what you can and can't change inside of sales orders once it's been confirmed. If I click on this item now and hit edit, you'll notice that I can put in a reference and description, so I can put in notes here, and I can actually go down here to this terms and conditions, and I can add please expedite, let's rush this order. That way I don't have to worry about spelling as much. But however, if I wanted to change any of this information, I cannot do that. This information cannot be changed. It's locked in because this sales order has already been confirmed. I can add additional notes here, or I can add additional notes here. I can change here what warehouse would be assigned to the sales order, but as far as the subtotals and the quantities and price and all that cannot be changed once you have confirmed a sales order. I will take just a brief moment to explain why that is, because I think this is one of those cases where a lot of users and companies they can become frustrated in that there's a lot of volatility in orders. A customer calls and says, I want so many of this and so many of that, and then they call and they go, wait a second, I don't want 5 dice, I want 10 instead. And you've already converted it to a sales order, and in some systems they do make it rather easy to just go in and maybe you could hit edit this and change the quantity here to 10, but there's a very important reason why you don't want to do that. And primarily the reason is that once you send this sales order by email, print it, fax it, and send it out, this total amount and the quantities that you've offered and those prices, any taxes, they're essentially bound to this sales order number. And if, for example, you were able to go in here and change this to a different quantity or change the pricing and then click save, you would have the one sales order that you sent out previously with the old information, and now you'd have a new sales order with different information, but with the same document number. So there's some very valid reasons, especially when you get into generally accepted accounting principles and some of the international requirements for document management, that once you've created a sales order with this information on it, this is in a sense essentially a legal document, and could be considered a legal document for practical purposes, and therefore you don't want this to be changed unless there's a way that's easily tracked and documented. So that brings us to the next kind of essential thing that you need to know is what do you do in this case? Bob Smith calls and says, oh, you know what, I don't want those 5 dice. I really need to have 20 of them. The price is so good. And so you say, okay, that's not going to be a problem. There is a way that we can handle this. We can right away just click and say, okay, we're going to cancel this order. And it'll say we can't cancel it. It's attached. There's a delivery order attached. So, we've already kind of run into a situation where we've created a delivery order for this. So we're going to jump over to our warehouse and we'll see all our operations. And we know that we have here waiting availability down here under our delivery orders. We click this and we'll see that here's our delivery order where we promised this guy 5 dice and 10 sunglasses, of which we don't have any. But we got to go ahead and cancel this transfer because we cannot manage the sales order as long as this as these items have been on a delivery order. So we cancel our delivery order. We jump back over to sales orders here, and now you'll notice we have a shipping exception because our delivery order has been canceled. So it's smart enough to tell us that. But at this point, we can cancel this sales order here, and we've essentially canceled it. We can go up and duplicate this sales order and change our quantity to 10 and save. And now Bob Smith has a new quotation with his new 10 orders of dice. Wait, he said he wanted 20, not 10. Since we're in the quotation, we can hit edit and change this to 20. So as long as this is just a quotation, we can make as many changes as we want. So from a business process standpoint, when there's volatility in the orders, they haven't really been firmed up yet, and they really are not confirmed, and you can't confirm that sale for delivery, just keep it in quotation form until you know that, hey, this person's done. Now we can confirm the sale, and we're back into a sale to invoice, and all is well. If we look at our sales orders list, you'll notice that we don't see the order that was canceled or void, that it's gone, that we just have our new invoice with the correct quantity on it. Now, as this is an essentials video, I think it's important that we repeat this again. I'm going to do it a little more quickly so that we can demonstrate to users that it's not the end of the world when a sales order has been confirmed and there needs to be a change. Let's say that this guy really couldn't get it right and he's decided, you know what, I really do only want this dice. Actually, I want to cancel these dice altogether. I don't want them. They let you know that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click cancel order just to once again show you how quickly it's going to tell us, wait, we can't, we got a delivery order. So we jump to our warehouse and we want to say this, look at our delivery orders that are awaiting availability, and we'll see that there's our sales order that we need to now cancel. So we're going to go up here to more, and we're going to cancel this. I'm sorry, delete it. Now we're going to go back over to sales and look at our sales order, and we're going to cancel it. But since we don't want to recreate all this from scratch, we can go up here and say duplicate and delete our dice from our quotation, and now save, and then now confirm. And we now have a new sales order with the sunglasses, and the dice have been removed. I am going to take just one more second to, say that users will push back on this a little bit of not being able to change sales orders. So you want to get them in the habit of using the duplicate and then making the changes after they've duplicated a sales order, and then they can cancel the order that's incorrect. The most important thing to impress is that if it didn't handle it this way, you could have a situation where a customer emails you a sales order and says, look, this sales order has this item, and this item on it. And then when you go into your system and pull that sales order number up, you could have conflicting data and conflicting information because you've made a change to a sales order that you had previously sent out to a customer. So while there is some extra steps involved, it can be worth it in having strict accountability and knowing that every single sales order document is going to have exactly on it what is expected, and that those documents are consistent. Okay, we've made some really good progress without having to set up a lot of configuration or files. Essentially, we just installed the module, added a couple of products and customers. We've already got a sales order, and we still had a couple of issues. We saw that with the price list. And now, so let's take a little bit of time here to look at how we can get into a little bit more configuration. Take notice here that on the left, we have a very simple menu under sales here. We just have customer, quotation, sales, and products. There's not a lot of detail here. It's very, very high level, and it's simplistic. So it makes it easy to get started looking at Odoo. However, you're not going to get very far without turning on the technical settings. And to do that, you go here to settings, and then go down here to users. And you'll notice that we have our administrator user that was set up by default, and you do want to take notice that the login by default is admin that it created when we made the database. So we're going to click on this user, and we're going to click edit, and down here under usability you'll see that there's a technical features option, and we're going to turn that on. And this is important. You're going to most likely want to do this even for any user that's learning the system and trying to configure it and set it up for their use. They're going to need to most likely have that on because there's just too many options that are hidden otherwise. So now if I go here and click sales, we're going to notice I'm intentionally doing this to show you that nothing changed. And this will happen to you sometimes when you make changes to configuration, that you're going to have to tell Odoo to update the menus after making that change. So if I move my mouse cursor up right here to where it says under the Odoo, and the edit company data will pop up, but don't click on that. Click underneath it. Just click here, and if you click there, the menus are going to refresh. And now when I click on sales, you'll notice that our menu now has a lot more options than it had before, simply by turning on the technical features. And I'm going to show you that one more time real quick. Under settings, under users, and click on the user, edit, and down here technical features. You're going to want that checked on, and you'll notice that there's a whole bunch more checkboxes available here, many more menus down the side here, and even just as we look at the sales module or the sales application, you're going to see a lot more menus. Unfortunately, I believe that you're going to need to have this on when you're configuring Odoo. Once you get everything set up and your company is moved on to Odoo and things are running smooth, I certainly think that you could explore turning the technical features back off again for certain users. However, probably the heads of departments or people that are really trying to keep track of high-level things, just for example, like product categories, for example, you're going to need to have technical features set on. So let's look at our sales order here, and we'll see that it says sales to invoice. And at this point, I want us to take just a minute to also look at what is installed in way of accounting by default at this point. So if you'll notice, we don't have an accounting menu up here. Instead, we have an invoicing. It has customer invoices that will show up there once we made that happen, as well as purchases that are installed, the warehouse, for handling basically the sale of those products and reporting. Here in reporting, you'll see there is some invoice analysis, purchasing analysis, and sales analysis. But if you'll notice that there really isn't anything in a way of accounting installed here by default. But let's go ahead and go into sales orders, and let's go ahead and create this invoice. When you click the Create Invoice button, you'll see that you have an option to invoice the whole sales order, a percentage of the sales orders, where you could actually invoice just a percentage, a fixed price, so like they put in a deposit, for an example, that maybe someone agrees to pay $75 towards this invoice, or you can do it based on some of the line items. For now, we're going to just invoice the whole sales order, and we're going to create that invoice. And you'll notice that now we have a button up here to view the invoice, and that we're seeing this as a completed sales order. So let's go ahead and view that invoice. And we see we have a draft invoice now with the sunglasses, and that here is in a draft invoice state. And if we go over here to invoicing now and look at customer invoices, someone in the AR department, for example, could be focusing on this invoicing menu here, and that now we have a draft invoice that could now be looked at and reviewed. And depending upon the policies, obviously you could do the invoice right now before you have shipped the product, or you could wait until the product has shipped. Let's go ahead and validate this invoice. Okay, at that point we have an open invoice, and if we go here and look at our customer accounts under customers, look at Bob Smith's sales here, you'll see that he's invoiced, and $100 is now basically in his AR. In addition, you'll see the for sales. Now if I click on for sales here, we'll see that really 2 of these have been canceled. We have an actual sales order, and we have a draft quotation that hasn't been actually confirmed yet. Now I think this somewhat gives us a good example of why it was important to have the canceled orders versus just changing sales orders. As you can see here, we can see the history of how we got to this final sales order that was, in fact, if we clicked on it, turned into an invoice, where we can see the view invoice. And I'm going to go ahead and click that view invoice. Now, if you'll notice, we've dug ourselves in pretty deep here. We've clicked around a lot. Notice at the very top of the screen here that we have a trail of breadcrumbs that leads us back to our original selections. And so I went and I looked at our customers. I pulled up Bob Smith. I then went and looked at the quotation and the sales when I clicked on the sales being 4. Then I actually specifically clicked on the sales order that we invoiced, and then from there I have pulled up the invoice. Now this can be somewhat important and valuable to your users, because now rather than clicking back into these master lists, I can go back and click on Bob Smith here and go back within my hierarchy, and I'm now here back to this selection, where I could then click directly and see the invoices and our $100 open invoice that we're waiting for Bob Smith to pay. Now, because this is an essentials video, I think it's important to show what we have here, and what we do have is we have a nice invoice. We know that he owes us money, and we know that it's open. There really is enough information here that you can run your business this way, and that you could essentially have what is basically a double entry accounting system hidden from you. In here you'll see no general ledger, you see no list of accounts, no invoicing, no balance sheet, no income statement. Essentially, you can see an invoice analysis, and we can see the line items in our total invoiced without tax, and we can go over and look in our customer invoices. But the accounting and finance module is actually a separate module, and this is somewhat the power of Odoo. If you're a little company and you just want to get started entering sales orders and getting up and running, you can. You don't need to spend hours and hours configuring a chart of accounts to get going. You'll notice that referring back earlier in the video, we were asked to set up a chart of accounts, and we picked a standard product-based chart of accounts and essentially a U.S. country-based template. Now what we're going to do, though, is we're going to actually install the accounting and finance module, because we want to see what's going on behind the scenes here. And to this point, I think we can understand that if you want to see what's going on with invoicing, you can click on invoicing and see your customer invoices. Obviously, we'll have ways to pay them in the customer payments, and you understand hopefully the basics of entering customers, entering sales orders, and entering products. So now let's install the accounting and finance module so we can get a little bit more control over our Odoo installation. So let's click on settings, and we can uncheck installed and see the modules that are not installed. Now this search box, as we start typing in it, if I start like typing accounting and then I hit enter, it's gonna